Creative blocks are the worst. And I was experiencing some creative blocks, which is why I have been gone from YouTube for literally an entire quarter, and why I'm recommitting here in the second quarter. Upon finishing my first quarter, I always like to do a quarterly review, you know, review everything, analyze, you know, what do I want to continue, what do I want to improve on for the next quarter. And I realized that I really wanted to recommit to YouTube for Q2. And I realized that was initially my plan in the first quarter, but I just had a creative block there. I felt like I couldn't create. And I wanted to create better content than I was creating on here before, you know, something that's gonna get the people going. But one of the issues of when you try to be a great creator is sometimes you don't even create because you feel limited by the expectations that you think that you have to uphold when it comes to your creativity. But as I've been realizing and learning, is it's not about how good you create, it's just about doing it. And when you naturally do it and you show up, you will naturally get better. So specifically when I was working on my content plan, my content strategy this week, I had another creative block, and I just was staring at the page and the page was staring back at me. And I was like, okay, this is not working. It's time for an artist date. And so if you've never heard of Julia Cameron, she wrote The Artist Way, and she talks about in her book, The Artist Date, which is this date that you take your inner child on, because our inner child is really our creative side, right? Because when we were children, we didn't have all of these restrictions and beliefs and doubts in our capabilities, and our imagination was just so huge. So it's important to take ourselves on these artist dates to re-engage that inner child and to gain new insights and guidance and inspiration for us to get back to our creative pursuits. The Artist Way, and she talks about in her book The Artist Date, which is this date that you take your inner child on, because our inner child is really our creative side, right? Because when we were children, we didn't have all of these restrictions and beliefs and doubts in our capabilities, and our imagination was just so huge. So it's important to take ourselves on these artist dates to re-engage that inner child and to gain new insights and guidance and inspiration for us to get back to our creative pursuits. So for me, I decided to paint. Painting has always been something that I love to do. I used to paint literally when I was in a high chair and follow along to Bob Ross as a baby. And it's just always been a very safe space for me, and it's always been fun. So I decided to do a Bob Ross painting this week. And when I sat down to do it, I realized that I was out of white paint. I was out of the blue I needed to do this specific Bob Ross paint. A couple of the blues actually. And I lost a bunch of brushes. I didn't even have a fan brush. And if you know anything about Bob Ross painting in trees, painting trees, fan brushes are kind of important. So I did it anyway. I painted anyway. And the first half, I hated it. I was miserable. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this. I don't have this. I don't have that. It looks terrible. It's not getting better. And then about halfway through, it started to look a little better. And I also just realized that I didn't show up here to paint today for this to be the perfect painting. I didn't show up here to paint today for this to be the masterpiece of all masterpieces that's going up in the Louvre. I showed up here today for my inner child to get a chance to play and have fun and just create and have a good time, and, you know, go back to when I used to just be in my high chair and painting Bob Ross. That's what I showed up here for. And as I just started to relax a bit, my painting started to look better and better as I started to add more and more layers to it, and it got more and more depth, and it just overall ended up looking a lot better than I thought it was. And when I look back at that painting now, I'll show you guys what it looks like. But I'm like, wow, this is beautiful. This is a beautiful painting. Knowing all the things that you went through, all the things that you didn't have, and you still created this, that's amazing. And Julia Cameron, she talks about this, you know, when you have these artist dates, that you'll gain this insight and this inspiration. And that's exactly what happened to me. I realized that it doesn't matter if you don't have all the exact tools or all the necessary tools that somebody else says is necessary or they use to create and do what they're supposed to do. If you just show up with what you have and you just create and you have fun, you're still going to create a masterpiece, and you're still going to create something that you're proud of. And I feel the same way about my content. I felt like sometimes I was trying to, or I will try to, show up and pull from things that don't relate to me, or I don't have, or it's not mine. And I'm trying to, I'm like, I don't have that. I can't do this. I can't do this because I don't have that, and I don't have that. So how am I going to do? That's not what it's about. It's about showing up with what you have and creating something beautiful from what you have. Creativity has been a part of our survival as humans. We created tools, we created shelters, we created different foods and dishes, and we just created everything that we needed. We were always innovating. Our creativity is ingrained in us, and it's just about getting creative, and it's about using your imagination and just putting something, bringing something into your reality. So as I now kick off this Q2, well, actually, let me tell you guys this. So if you guys are feeling, so if you're ever feeling like you have a creative block, and this is all the creative block is, there's a fear there. Whether it's a fear of success, or a fear of failure, or a fear of not being as good as the competition, it's just a fear. So after I had my artist date, and then I also realized this lesson that was in my fun little artist date. And an artist date for you can be whatever you want. Maybe it's painting, maybe it's drawing, maybe it's writing, maybe it's going to get ice cream, maybe it's going to the park. It's whatever it is for you. You'll get some kind of insight. But after that, I like to do the inner work. I'm an inner work girly. And I asked myself, you know, where is this resentment? Where is this fear coming from when it comes to, you know, your content right now? And I realized that the fear was that it still wasn't going to be right. And I know my content is good. My content's good. It's not bad. But it's still, I still am perfecting the formula for me to find my audience, you know, in a larger quantity. I'm grateful for the audience that I do have. I love you guys, but to pull in more of my audience, I know I have to perfect that formula. And it's a fear of, I did a bunch of work after my first quarter to try to, you know, take the lessons and figure out what the formula is for me. And I had a fear come up of it still not being the right formula. And I got to do this again next quarter, and again and again, and it's still not being the right formula. And then I had resented the fact that I still hadn't figured it out, that I still didn't have the size audience that I wanted to have. And it's not all about the numbers, but numbers are important, especially when this is your livelihood and you know that there's more people that you're meant to reach, when you know that you're meant to have a larger audience and you're still not there. Yeah, I resent that. I resented that. So I was able to think about that, sleep on it, and, you know, release it. Because at the end of the day, it's like, then it's thinking about, all right, so if you don't continue to create, what does that mean? You give up? No, I'm not giving up. I'm not quitting on this. So what do? You keep going. You do rework the formula. You rework the formula until you get it right. I was looking at Keith Lee's videos. I was looking at his old videos a few weeks back, and, you know, think about any of your favorite large creators. They had to perfect their formula. There was a sauce. There was a secret formula that would get them to attract their audience. So I was looking back at Keith's videos, and, like, you know, he would be cooking sometimes, or he would be standing in the kitchen and he would be like, you know, unbagging the groceries with his wife, whatever. He was just doing different things. But it wasn't until he sat down in that little baby chair and reviewed some food, you know, and talked in that tone of voice that you know, that whatever tone you want to call it, that he found his formula. That took time. It's never, usually for most of us, 99% of people that are creatives, it's not you sit down in front of the camera one day, the first day you ever do it, and you got it. You got the sauce, you got the recipe, it's done. That doesn't happen. That's literally, that's the 1%. The rest of us, we have to show up every day, consistently, whatever, and perfect our craft. So, realizing that, thinking about that, sleeping on that, I realized that I'm energized and I'm ready to go hard this second quarter. So I'm gonna give you guys a couple updates now. I really wanted to start a podcast, but I don't feel like it's the time for me to start a podcast. I feel like I need to show up more on YouTube first. I wanna focus on video a little longer before I start my podcast. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be turning my YouTube videos into podcasts. And I'm committing to showing up every week here on YouTube for the next quarter, for these 12 weeks. So you guys will see me every week. And I also am starting a newsletter. It's going to be called The Goddess Pages, I think. And I want to call it The Goddess Pages because I want it to be a deeper side of me. So goddess is in all women, right? The goddess energy is in all women. It's our side, it's the side of us that knows our worth. It's the diva side of us, and we know our boundaries, and we're able to stand up for our boundaries, and we know our worth. And I say pages because I literally am writing these goddess pages in my journal every day. This is straight from my page. I like to write by hand. I don't like to type. So it's called The Goddess Pages, and I'm going to be talking about creativity, mindfulness, femininity, and a bit of spirituality as well. So any of you that have already bought a product from me or already on my email list, you will be automatically getting The Goddess Pages. And if you're not on my email list, you can check out my Stan store below, where I will have a link to my where you can sign up for my email list so you can get The Goddess Pages, which will be once a week. I'm thinking it's gonna come out on Fridays. So yeah, I'm really excited about those two things. So this quarter for me it's a new formula. It's the same ingredients. It's just a little different formula. And I'm excited to recommit to YouTube long form and to start my newsletter and an official podcast where I'm interviewing people like I want to do, talking to people about stuff, is gonna be a little ways off. And I definitely believe in focusing on certain things for a period of time. I don't believe in doing too many things at one time. I've done it before, and I still do a lot at once, but there has to be a limit to how much, you know, we do at one time to make sure we're really giving our all. So yes, you can check out The Goddess Pages below, sign up for the newsletter. It's also going to be on my website. Oh, that's also another thing I'm doing this quarter. I'm redesigning my website myself. Last time I had somebody else do my website and I just wasn't happy. But so yeah, I'm going to be redesigning my website myself. I guess probably, hopefully we use AI to help me with it. But yeah, those are my big projects this quarter, is showing up here on YouTube, my newsletter, and redesigning my website. So I'm really excited for all of that. And you know, if you're feeling any creative blocks, just know that you can push through them. Take yourself on some artist dates. Ask yourself why you're feeling any resentment or fear around doing whatever it is that you want to do, whatever you want to create, and then recommit. That's the last part. I don't think I mentioned that. The last part of creative blocks is acknowledging that you are enough and recommitting to the process. So that's what I've done. I've recommitted to the process. Literally, you can see a little sticky note right here is where I said a statement, recommitted to the process, and I signed it because I'm recommitting. So I'm really excited for this second quarter. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys have a great day. Bye.